This story was told to me by one of the instructors of our civil defense unit when I was still a schoolboy. He was an elderly man and extremely intelligent for a military man. He did not even swear. Later I learned that he was a former committee member. Well, these are the kinds of people about whom they say that there are no formal ones, but that's not the point. One day, this instructor and I started talking about child soldiers in the past and present, about young pioneer heroes, about young volunteers from Transnistria, about the brave young men and women who died in the White House in Moscow in 1993, who died alongside adults defending their ideals. And then he said that there, in the White House, these were not ordinary teenagers at all. I had no idea what he meant, so I just asked him who they were. For me, he was a kind of great keeper of the terrible secrets of a bygone era. It was from him that I learned about the compression tank, the 1K17 Zade, the free-barreled Korobov machine gun, or the laser pistols that were designed for our cosmonauts, and much more. Soviet secrets that are more known now, but back then, they were still very hidden. After this question, the instructor suddenly grew solemn and had a dark expression on his face, then looked out of the window of our life safety class, in which there were only the two of us. I was staying behind late at school at that time, helping him with the inventory of property. He just stood there and looked at the dark evening sky, at the heavy, black-grey clouds, and then suddenly took a cigarette out of his pocket and lit it. I had never seen him smoke before in my life. It was the kind of thing he never did. That's just the kind of person that he was. Well, I guess I'll tell you. I've known you for a long time. You're a reliable person. He said this while closing the door of our classroom tightly. But don't tell anyone, no matter what. Back then, it was a military secret. But now the state is different. But it's still better not to blab. You won't tell anyone, do you promise? I promised him that I would not tell. He made me put my right hand to my head and give my word of honor as a pioneer that I would never tell anyone, that my honor would be sullied if I lied or ever broke my promise. Again, I promised and made a vow. What a great guy, he smiled, putting out his cigarette, and then immediately darkened again, saying almost in a whisper, there were cadavers there. Who were they? What kind of cadavers were these? Well, how could I possibly explain it to you? They were these guys who were just like you, and some girls too, who were trained to serve the motherland from early childhood. Were they pioneers as well, or were they something else? I didn't really understand what he meant. Not exactly. Let's go from the beginning. It all started under Stalin, before the war. You know Bekhterev. He was a scientist. He studied the brain. I told him I did not know him. And you read when you grow up. He wrote books too. They are interesting. But right now you won't really understand the concept fully. Okay, so Bekhterev. He was a scientist who did studies on the brain. What comes next? I was burning with curiosity at this point. You're in too much of a hurry. Do you know how he died? No. They say that the NKVD poisoned him in 1927. The NKVD were basically the secret police of the time. They're probably lying, I giggled, already accustomed and partly accustomed by my interlocutor not to believe any tales from liberal articles and TV shows. Of course they lie, but you can't imagine how much. The thing is, he did not die then. They staged his death and then took him to a secret, scientific town somewhere in the Urals. One of those with guards with machine guns at the entrances and exits. There's something important there to guard. Why did they put him there? The thing is, he discovered something that you were not supposed to know about. Secrecy, you know, very secret. Something incredibly secret. So what? What did he discover? Well, let's say I give you a machine gun, and then I put you against adults, trained soldiers who are naturals with all kinds of weapons. They are adapted to any kind of scenario and are better at everything. Will you survive? Can you handle at least one? It's unlikely that you could. You would die at the first sight of one of them. But Bekhterev discovered how to change the brain and the rest of the body so that you can both survive and cope. You will think faster than any person, absorb information, and react too. In just one day, you will be able to learn the entire course of the military academy, all the tactics, well, or understand the structure of the most complex device, completely control your body, for example, to stop the pulse or bleeding with an effort of will, and the actions of enemies will seem so slow to you that you will feel sorry to beat them. But look, here was the problem that Bekhterev encountered in his studies. It was only possible to change the nervous system in children, especially in teenagers, because it is not yet fully formed. You can mold it into whatever you want. Adult brains were not malleable enough, and the results of any kind of experimentation would leave them brain dead. I asked if this was really true and what happened. Of course it really happened. When Stalin found out about it, he ordered a special department to be created in the NKVD, Department K. This department was also top secret. This was already in the late 30s. They selected pioneers and Komsomol members from all over the country, injected them with special drugs, trained them, taught them how to use weapons. For secrecy, in addition to their names, they were given personal numbers according to the name of the department. K410, for example. That's how they were mentioned in documents. Were they deployed on missions, and did they fight anyone? They fought, of course. They were first tested at the Battle of Khalkhingal against the Japanese, then in the Finnish War, and they showed very good results everywhere, winning even against enemy forces that were 4 times superior. Can you imagine that? And then the Great War was already on the doorstep. The Germans attacked unexpectedly. We had heavy losses, including among Department K. Of course, they resisted fiercely. For every one of these pioneers who died, there was sometimes 100 or 300 Germans. But no matter what your abilities were, you can't save yourself from a bomb. So the Germans got the hang of knocking them out with artillery and aviation. To make up for the losses, they expanded the recruitment. Before the war, they took children aged 14 to 16, and during it, they started taking 12-year-olds, and even those even younger. That was how it was at the time. It's like Valya Koltek. He was also at 12. Then it suddenly dawned on me. Listen, but the pioneer heroes, they were also from the department. Well, with numbers. Who knows? Maybe yes, maybe no, and maybe some were and some weren't. To be honest, I want to believe that they weren't, that they were without abilities, on the idea alone, but reality says the opposite. An ordinary teenager can't kill so many evil, trained and experienced fascists like Lenya Golikov. An ordinary 9-year-old can't survive her own execution and then get to her own like Nadia Bogdanova. And nevertheless, all of this happened. Of course, we can be naive idiots about it and say that the newspaper, Pravda, made all this up, but there is evidence and witnesses that all of this really happened. We sat in silence for a few minutes, and then I asked, what happened to them next? Well, after the war. Don't rush. We still need to sort out the war itself. Well, our guys created new ones, threw them into battle. They helped the Red Army stop the Germans at Moscow, but the losses were still high. The Germans still had the SS then. They had paratroopers. They had the Brandenburgs. They did not have time to completely knock them out. They were the real elite. And our guys and girls, despite all their skills, lacked experience. They only knew the war from books, from textbooks, so they were taken by cunning, or through traitors from ours. That's how Zeno Portnova got captured. Our guys fought hard about what to do here. They even tried to experiment with adults, but to no avail. But they found a solution. They found a way to pass on the combat experience of fallen Red Army soldiers to them. The main thing there was to preserve the brain, so it would not die. And then, you'd better tell me about them. Well, what happened after that? I did not let up. Well, about after the war? The instructor smiled again. Yeah, I need to know. Well, that means they found a way, and in the end, they got excellent soldiers. They had experience, skills, and they were loyal to the motherland. They had almost their entire nervous system changed, and a few other little things. Believe it or not, as a result, they even stopped aging, and remained pioneers forever. This was the second, improved generation of our numbered guys. We won the war, took Berlin, and then another one came along. Along came the Cold War. And that's when our cadavers visited the whole world. Korea, Vietnam, Angola, Afghanistan. They all helped fraternal peoples and fulfilled their international duty. By the time of Afghanistan, they had made a third generation of them who can neither chicken out, nor betray, nor go crazy. The very structure of their brains will not allow them to disobey orders or give in to fear. So why cadavers? Who named them that? The scientists who created them named them, and the military, based on the book Monday Begins on Saturday, written by the Strugatsky brothers. Oh, I read it. Well, they called the artificial people cadavers in that book, and that's why they named our guys after them. They basically completely remade them and gave them a great goal, to defend the motherland. So great that when the Union fell apart, they never accepted it. They put up a real resistance. Just remember what was happening in Moscow in 1993. Is that when the tanks are fired at the Duma? Not about the Duma, but about the Supreme Soviet, now the government building. Now they say all sorts of things, like they shot almost unarmed people, but there were no losses on the military side. No man, he told me, leaning forward a little. Yeltsin, of course, was a real bastard, but he was definitely not a maniac. He did not want blood for the sake of blood. In fact, those same ones, slaughtered a fair amount of police, military, and special forces, and the generals, from those who betrayed, reported to Yeltsin, who was sitting there, in the Supreme Soviet, so he got scared that they would ask him for everything, and brought in tanks. And do they exist now? After all, if the second and third generation cadavers do not age, then they should still be around. After 93, the instructor sighed bitterly. Yeltsin ordered for all of them to be destroyed. They brought in ODON, Alpha. They hunted them and shot them all over the country. However, here he lowered his voice. There is a chance that they did not kill everyone. It is very possible that they did not kill everyone, and that some are still hiding, remembering Soviet times and wanting to bring them back. In short, that is how it is. That is all he knew on the matter. I remember that conversation to this day, despite the fact that I finished school, left the civil defense unit due to my age, and later entered college. Gradually growing up, and moving away from that very moment, I believed less and less what was said on that gloomy evening. After all, who knows what kind of fictions were circulating around the country at the turn of the eras, about non-contact combat and about Kennedy's liquidation by Soviet special forces. So why shouldn't there be another one among them? But still, something did not allow, and to this day, does not allow me to forget this theory, finally placing it in the category of an indisputable lie. Perhaps the realization of what our world really is. If comrade instructor told me the truth, then what if among us, like restless souls, the last soldiers and the last citizens of a bygone state really live, waiting for the moment when they can once again light ruby stars above our heads? I have been searching for months, trying to figure out what it is that my wife and I saw. This happened around Labor Day 2014, while camping in the eastern Sierras in the Mono Village area. I have been coming to the same area to camp and fish for over 40 years. The Twin Lakes Resort in Bridgeport, California, right on the Sierra-Nevada border, about an hour north of Mono Lake. My parents brought me when I was a kid, and now I bring my family every year, so I am very familiar with the wildlife. I have seen mountain lions, Sierra moose, bald eagles, mountain goats, osprey, king snakes, the list goes on. One morning, my wife and I were headed to the creek for some daybreak fishing. The time must have been close to 5:30 a.m., and it was still very dark out, with a slight fog. This trip is about a quarter mile from cabin to creek, and it's always full of nocturnal animals headed home after raiding the local campgrounds. Like I'd done 100 times before, I kept an eye out, slowing down occasionally to hit the high beams and illuminate the beasts with their reflective eyes. This time my lights caught something crossing the road that did not have reflective nocturnal eyes, so I slowed down immediately and tried my best to identify what it was. It was so hard because the thing was moving very low. Its belly was just inches from touching the ground. It appeared to be very pale, or white, so I thought it was a goat or a sheep. Well, when my high beams hit this thing, it turned its long neck and glared at us and almost shook its head as if we pissed it off and did not want to be seen at all. At first, it had been crossing the street diagonally, headed our way, but then it turned, heading in our direction. My wife had seen it from the start, and I wanted to make sure she was seeing and observing the same thing that I was. I asked her, "What is that?" Now, the first thing that I could not understand, besides the way it was crawling so low to the ground, was that the legs did not look right. Its knees seemed to be backwards, but it was running on them. Because it was moving so fast, I thought maybe it was an escaped sheep or goat that had broken knees and was running for its life. As it came closer and closer towards us, I could hardly take my eyes off its freaky legs. I am still to this day puzzled by how they were working. I haven't ever seen any mammal move that way. The closest thing I could liken it to would be a crab or maybe an insect. The front and back legs moved together in unison. There was no bounce or gallop to the creature's movement. Its torso, which was about 4 feet long, stayed entirely straight, low to the ground, as its legs and arms did all of the work. To me, it looked like a puppet moved along on marionette strings. So unreal, like one of H.R. Giger's alien creatures when they're shown climbing around super fast with only their arms and legs moving. When my wife finally responded to my question, all she said was, "What the hell?" We saw it from maybe 50 yards away to about 20 yards. You could see that it had no fur at all, just pale, sinewy skin stretched over long, skinny, well-defined limbs. What I thought at first were broken knees were actually very long, skinny fingers or claws, about a foot long or more. The torso was about maybe the size of a large goat's, but it also had broad shoulders, very human. It made me think that possibly this thing normally walks upright. In fact, that's what my wife kept pointing out afterwards to me. The shoulders made it look human. All this was freaky, but we both stared intensely, trying to figure out what it was. As it got closer, its face became more and more defined. At first, I could tell that the face and the head did not make sense, but I thought, well, it looks strange now, but when you get face to face, you'll see a familiar goat snout, or canine nose, or jackrabbit face. But no, the nose I was looking for was not there. It was just a flat opening, with 2 nose holes high up on the face. No ears, just small holes on the side of its head. Its brow ridge was very pronounced, but the skull was smaller than a human's, more like the size of a chimp's. However, it had a large, protruding chin. But this part I totally did not get at all. From a distance, although they reflected no light, I had seen the creature's large eye sockets. As it came nearer and nearer, I saw the color red in them. Not like a light that was glowing, but like many veins, or like a red membrane that was covering the sockets. Now this blew me away. I thought, how is this thing turning its head to glare at me with no eyes? Was it a ghost? But as it passed us, I came to a complete stop. I saw it zip into the chaparral and kick up dust. This thing had been flesh and blood, at least for the 15 to 20 seconds that we observed it. I might add that there was no smell or anything else odd that we noticed. I should have taken pictures of the tracks, but did not think to do it because it was very puzzled and thought maybe we had witnessed a ghost because of how unreal it appeared. I was also with my family, and I did not want to put them in any danger. If I had been alone, I would have stepped out onto the trail to investigate. What this thing was doing so close to a campground puzzles me. My wife said that this thing seemed intelligent to her. She got the sense that it was mad at us for discovering it. The mouth was closed, and it had tightly closed lips that almost looked like a large smile. I did not see any teeth, but its skull was that of a predator's, not a prey animal. The eye sockets were positioned on the front, not the sides. I have seen a great many extraordinary things in my life, and I consider myself a great eyewitness. I don't jump to conclusions. I just observe, make notes, and evaluate later. My wife was a bigger skeptic than me. Her upbringing exposed to her early on how harsh reality can be, and she had no room for any flights of imagination. Well, now she's a believer, and she's afraid to this day of what is walking around those Sierra Nevada mountains. Southwest Florida. Live in tourist beach town. Decide to one day go east out of where I live and into the wetlands. Girlfriend of that time comes with me. Take my dad's Jeep and pack a tent, sleeping bag, fishing rods, food and supplies since I was thinking of camping out that night. drive to Fakahachi Strand, which is like 40 minutes from home, but it is pretty secluded and huge. Everything is fine. Pass a ranger cabin and many trails that lead out into the swamps and fields. Get a couple of miles in, while we find a clearing with 2 trails coming out of it. Decide to park and unpack there. Notice 3 dried up raccoon corpses in the entrance of one of the trails. Skin is still on them except for the head, where it is completely bone white. Decide to kick them off into the water so my girlfriend does not freak out. Moment I kick them and they land in the water, I hear a yelping sound coming from deep within the trail. Look back at girlfriend, and she did not seem to notice. It was pretty damn loud though. Decide to go check it out, since I'm not camping close to some crazy animal. Get my revolver and machete. Girlfriend decides to tag along, since she does not want to be left alone. She keeps asking why I decided to go into the trail for about like 2 miles of walking, get to what seems like a dead end, but I can smell smoke and see metal shining in the sun behind the plants. Cut them down and pass through. Get to another clearing. Circular, with metal pieces of what looks like a car outlining the edges of the clearing. Big metal stick in the middle of the clearing. GF starts to freak out. Tell her to get behind me. Suddenly hear the same yelping noise, but super fucking loud this time. What looks like a human, covered in trash bags on all 4s, slides out from directly in front of us, heading towards the middle of the clearing. Start running back to the Jeep. Have about 2 miles of trail to go through. Can hear a fuckload of rustling behind us as we run through the trail. Look back for a second and see 2 of the same trash monsters, or whatever the hell, booking it towards us on all 4s. Yell at my girlfriend to run as fast as she can. Take that moment to turn quickly and fire a shot blindly behind me. My vision turns dark, as if I suddenly put on sunglasses. Still looking behind me, and I can barely turn my head. The trash bag demons aren't on the trail, still can't move. Another like 5 seconds pass, and my vision returns to normal, so I turn and start running after my GF. No more rustling, just the sound of us running and breathing hard. Finally get to the Jeep. Quietly pack all the stuff back on and have my revolver at the ready. Girlfriend screams and points to the front of the Jeep. There's a fucking severed dog head stuck on the front. What the fuck? Kick it off and jump in the truck. Peel the hell out of there. GF is freaking out. Finally get to the main road to go back home. Try to calm my girlfriend down, give her some water. Between sips, she keeps repeating the same stuff over and over again. Get closer, since I can barely hear her. They had the faces of my parents. At this point I'm about to shit myself. Her parents have been dead for like 5 years. Go back home and lock myself in for like 2 days, since I am still feeling uneasy, especially at night. Nothing else happened after that. Me and her never talked about it after that day, and broke up 2 years later due to other stuff. Fuck going back there. Seriously. I have a story. I posted this close to 8 years ago, but it's the only real good spooky story I have. 15 years old. Live in the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Seriously, it takes 25 minutes just to get to Walmart. Family's gone to the store, which means 2+ hours alone. Fuck yes, we're watching Watchmen on the big ass TV. In middle of the movie. Start hearing my brother laughing in his room. Wait, what the fuck? He's at the store. Stand up straight. It's still laughing. Walk all the way down the hallway to his bedroom doorway. Whatever the fuck is laughing is in the middle of his room. Screw it. I am 15 years old. I am a man. Step into the room. Laughing immediately stops. Oh, okay. Go back to the movie. The comedian is fucking baller. A couple nights later. Bedtime, as in it's 2 a.m., and I've been playing Halo 2 all night, and I am tired as hell. Switch off lights and go to sleep. Parents have this weird rule about doors, so I have to sleep with door open. Door is open to the hallway that leads to bro's room. Trying to fall asleep. Hear someone walking in the hallway. Figure it's my other younger brother. He has special needs and will sometimes just get up and walk around the house just because. Really annoying, but he does not know better. Roll over to look at the hallway and I tell him to go to bed. Footsteps past doorway. No brother though. What the shit? Footsteps in my room now. wide awake at this point. Footsteps start pattering around my room, freaking the hell out. Use blankets to make a little tunnel so I can only see the ceiling. Trying desperately to go back to sleep. Suddenly see shape. Looks like a burned image when you look at a light bulb. Has cat eyes and toothpick teeth though. What the absolute hell. As soon as I process what it is, the shape flies right at my face. Fuck this shit. Lights on, Xbox on, we play more Halo. Sat wide-eyed until sunrise. Haven't slept at night since that night. Mentioned it to mom since she is super religious. Big mistake. Convinced it's just because I watch scary movies and open a portal or some stuff. Yeah, okay. Still not sleeping at night. Started even keeping water bottles in my room since the house is spooky as shit now. Might be me being paranoid, but it always feels like something is right on my back, especially at night. A couple weeks pass since I saw the face. Out of water. Fuck. Decide to brave it because it's been a couple of weeks. Open my door. Kitchen light is on. Kitchen light is never on. I got lucky, let's go. Decide to get water. Kitchen, dining room, and living room are all one giant room, separated by fireplace. Feeling brave after I get my water. If there's anything in here, make some noise or you're a bitch. Immediately hear something fall over in the living room. Get the hell out of there, no way. Book it to my room and lock the door. That'll keep the ghosts out. About a month's gone by. Sleep schedule is messed up at this point. Also got a job, so I work nights now. Come home at about 11 p.m. Usually just jump on my Xbox right after. Not today, Jose. Friend asked me to cover his morning shift, and bitch-ass boss made me work my shift. Deadass just got off a 15-hour shift. Fucking exhausted. Pass out in my work clothes. Wake up at 2 a.m. Phone is buzzing. What is going on? Who is texting me at 2 a.m.? It's mom. Can you please keep it down? I can hear you laughing all the way across the house. Wait, what? Check the hallway. Everyone is asleep. Mom, what? Text back that she just woke me up, but thanks. Convinced at this point, something is in the house. She still does not believe me because we're a Christian home and demons do not come here. Stay up all night every single night until we move. Got a new house. Nothing remotely paranormal has happened since. Fuck that house. Took longer than I thought, but that house was messed up. It wasn't even an old house or anything. My parents had it built themselves. This one happened in January, right after New Year's. Be leaving Illinois for my home in PA. Was there visiting kinfolk for the holidays. 15 to 16 hour drive. Didn't leave till late. Planned on stopping at a motel. About 7 hours in, the urge to sleep gets strong. Pull into a small roadside stop. Go to check in. Realize I left my wallet in Illinois. Shit, fuck, damn it. Lady behind the counter says there's an old campground up the road. Says to be careful though. Nobody goes up there, but she's heard stories. Ask her what kind of stories. Local legends, you know. Mostly I think it's just meth heads. I agree, since I'm still in the Bible Belt at this point. Middle America has a bad meth issue. Take her instructions. Find the campground. It was a pretty warm winter in the area, so there was only a little snow on the ground, so the going isn't too bad down the dirt road to get in. Find the check-in office. Lady wasn't kidding when she said the place did not get much use. Building's windows are all either gone or boarded up. Decide to park behind it just in case cops. Already feeling sketched out by the situation. I decide to risk getting my concealed carry gun out of the spare tire area and load it. Keep it grip out under the back of my driver's seat since I'm gonna sleep in the back seat. Put my mag light on the seat next to me. Grab my blanket and pillow and lay across the back seat, facing the window that looks out into the woods. Leave the windows open a crack so I don't die. Fall into fitful sleep. Wake up maybe 2 hours later with a god-awful smell. Smells like a mix of roadkill, vomit, and dookies. Oh sweet Jesus, I'm gonna hurl. It's a big clearing and a pretty clear night, so I notice something standing at the far end of the campground. Think it's maybe a tweaker and the smell is coming from him, so grab the mag light and shine it out at the sky. Thing suddenly stands the rest of the way up, probably 8 feet tall. It's too far out for me to make out any real details. Grab pistol and get ready as fuck. Can't shit my pants due to sheer ass-clenching terror. Thing makes this horrible half-squeal, half-bark barfing noise that trundles off into a weird laugh. Twitches around and then bounds into the woods. Fucking what the fuck was that fucking shit? Slowly reach for the door handle. Right as I do, boom. There is a huge thud on my roof. Boom, boom, boom. Bark, giggle noise. Oh sweet Lord Jesus, please do not let me die tonight. Open the door and rock it out. Stumble, fall, roll over. Shine maglight at my car and aim the pistol. I can't see shit, Captain. My face went. Nothing is on my roof at all. Suddenly the smell is right on top of me. Worse than it had been before. Jump up. Almost at urine mode engaged. Swing light and gun around. Stop dead. Fucking thing is like 3 inches from me. Lean down. Ain't got no face. Just a big as ragged rip that might be a grin or a grimace. Makes that horrible gurgling, barf bark laugh, and I probably shouted or tried to sound badass, but it probably came out pretty girly. Shut eyes tight. Pull the trigger until the gun clicks empty. All I can smell is burnt powder. Slowly open my eyes. The thing is gone. There's a lot of spent shells on the ground. Also, I peed myself a little. Don't even wait to see where it went. Just hear angry screeching from the woods. Jump in my car and speed off, almost crash. Hear that noise the whole way until I make it to the highway. Don't stop for anything until I hit the PA border, and only then to change out of piss-stained pants and get a candy bar. Never been so scared in my life. I honestly thought I was gonna bite the big burrito